Howdy partners, Josh here with Josh's World Travel, and we're here right in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower with a few things that you need to know before you make your trip over to Paris, France. And the first thing that you need to know is that Paris is grand. And I don't just mean beautiful when I say grand, because it is that, but it is grand in terms of size. So you better be ready to walk around a bit, because even if you're using transportation, getting taken to and from a few of the different areas you're going to want to go to, there's a lot of walking within the areas. Just like you're looking at the Eiffel Tower right here behind me, there is a giant park here in front of it, and some of the angles that you're going to want to hit are kind of going all around the perimeter of the Eiffel Tower. There's obviously a few great photos here at the park, but there's going to be photos on the other side next to a few of the museums. There's going to be some great bridge photos that you're going to take that are going over the River Seine. And you're not going to want to miss that, but it is going to take you a little bit of walking, so bring comfortable shoes. I know you're in one of the fashion capitals of the world, so you can do that in a way that makes you feel good, but you definitely will be walking around. And that doubles for many other monuments. The Louvre, which I think is its own individual point, would be a great example, or the Palace of Versailles. If you're going to be making your way over there, there is grand scale comparatively to what you might think it might be when you're thinking about monuments in different places in other countries and other cities. And with that, we'll talk a little bit about how to get around Paris. And all these monuments, all these places you want to go, the shopping that you might want to do and check out while you're here. The best way to get around is definitely with the public transportation system, which is very extensive here. They have a metro underground, very easy to navigate as well, especially with your Apple Maps, or your Google Maps. Just screenshot your directions before you get on there. Because a lot of times you'll lose your phone connectivity once you're underneath. But other than that, they also have an extensive bus system. You can get anywhere in the city through the public transportation. Big pro tip would be that you can buy a 10-pack of tickets if you want to save a little bit of money. They still have a physical ticket here. They're not on contactless payment yet. So that's a great way to save a few euros, is to buy 10 at a time and make sure that you use them before you finish up your trip here. If that doesn't work for you for any reason, or you don't want to deal or be bothered with finding your way around the public transport, Uber is also an option. There is definitely Uber here in Paris as well, and you can take advantage of that to get from your Louvre over to your Eiffel Tower. And speaking of some of these very famous monuments, you'll learn a little bit about how Paris is set up into arrondissements, or neighborhoods. Per example, there are 20 of them here in Paris, and as the numbers get bigger, you're generally moving further from the city center. The first arrondissement is right at the Louvre, and where we're at right now by the Eiffel Tower is in the 7th arrondissement. So that may be something to consider whenever you're thinking about where you want to stay. If there's certain sites that you want to see whenever you're here in Paris, maybe you stay closer by them. Whereas, or maybe if you have a lot of different things that you want to take in, maybe you'll stay inside of the first 7 arrondissements. That way you're a little bit closer for walking or for public transporting to and from where you want to be. And speaking of monuments, a few to note. First of all, we'll talk about the Notre Dame. As we all know, it did burn down back in 2019, but restoration efforts are well underway. It should finish up in about 2024. With that said, it is still, in my opinion, worth going by and looking at, because the front of the Notre Dame still it resembles what it should look like. And then there's some cool comics as well outside that kind of talk about what happened, right, in the history of and what's going to happen. So it's still a really cool visualization. It's still a great place to get some photos as well in. So don't skip it just because it burned recently. Other than that, obviously you have the Eiffel Tower behind me, and you have the Arc de Triomphe. And both of those are interesting because you can go on top. It's both paid for entry, so something you need to consider. The Eiffel Tower has 2 levels, one at the very top and one in the middle. And there are 2 different pay rates to go in. And then the Arc de Triomphe, it can get you up to the top. But with that, I did want to take a little bit and talk very specifically about the Louvre, because that's one of the more quintessential things that you're going to look at whenever you come here to Paris. And I want to make sure that you set yourself up for a ton of success, because there are a few things that you can either know or not know whenever you're going to the Louvre. The first things first is book your tickets in advance. Do not think that you'll just walk up to the Louvre and you'll get a ticket and you'll walk in. I know a lot of museums around the world exist that way, but not the most popular museum on planet Earth. You need to go online, purchase your tickets in advance. Just go ahead and take care of that for yourself, so you don't worry about it. You will book a time slot as well. Don't worry, that doesn't mean that you only have so long that you can spend in the Louvre. It's more about the entry time, because they can't just let every single person in at the same time. So you can pick a time slot that'll work for your day. In my experience, you don't need to buy these months in advance. You can buy it maybe like a week in advance, and you'll probably find every single time slot on the day that you would like. And so once you book your time slot and you're ready to go, you show up to the Louvre. You're going to enter through the glass pyramid. That's right. There should be 2 lines heading up to it. Make sure the one that you're in is for your time slot. It should be for the upcoming time slots. And that's how you're going to go in. It'll be a lot like basically being at the airport, right? They're going to scan your ticket. They're going to put you through a metal detector, a lot of those normal things. Once you're in the Louvre, though, just a note, don't think you're only going to spend 1 hour there. Yeah, if you just want to run up and see the Mona Lisa, that's one thing. There is another line when you get to the Mona Lisa because it's so popular. But if you're going to enjoy the rest of the museum, you could probably spend a full week worth of days inside the museum. So it might be worth looking at what you want to actually see there before you go in, because the museum is the largest in the world. There is not a larger museum than the Louvre, so there's multiple days worth of things that you can spend looking at in there. So if you want to pre-plan it a little bit to make sure you see everything that you want to see, please do that, and so that way you'll make sure not to miss something if it was really important to you. But there's no way you're going to go through the whole thing in one day, and do plan to spend a few hours there, which kind of goes back to talking about how grand everything is in Paris and how large of scale these things are. It's really shocked me in both the times that I've come here, just how much, how large and how massive and magnificent all these different monuments are in particular, and that does not exclude the Louvre at all. But let's say that you're looking for more of a quintessential Parisian experience, and one of the very best things that you can do is you can take time to unwind, relax, and you can have a little picnic on the Seine. There's nothing quite as romantic or fun or relaxing as sitting next to the water with a baguette, cheese, and a wine in your hand while you're taking in all of what Paris has to offer on the river. There are a few great places that you can sit on the water. You can either sit on park benches, just on the ground, or there's even small cylinder parks that go and you can sit on the grass and bring a blanket and do it kind of the old school way. So I'll link a few things below on a few different areas and resources on places that you can go, and I'll pop on the screen as well exactly where we were and exactly the spot, so that if you wanted to find and recreate the same thing, it's right there for you. And so the next thing that I want to talk to you all about is about day trips from Paris, and really focusing on one, which is taking a day trip to the Palace of Versailles. There's a few great tips that we can share with you, and the first one is don't get the wrong ticket. Now, whenever you go there, you can take public transportation, but you're actually going to be on what's called the RER train, right? And that one is specifically not included with your Paris Metro tickets that you're going to get. And so if you do show up with a Paris Metro ticket, you might be able to get onto the train, but then there's going to be security sitting there right next to the exit to Versailles, and they're going to be asking to see your specific tickets. And if you're not able to produce that, is a €35 fine per person on your trip. So instead of that, you can just get a $3 or €3.50 train ticket, and you'll get there just fine, no problem. It takes, depending on where you're at in Paris, maybe 40 to 50 minutes to get there. Other than that, once you're there, also don't make the mistake of not budgeting enough time into your trip, because the Palace of Versailles is a massive undertaking. there's enough there to spend your whole entire day. I know just to do the basic indoor presentation, a couple hours if you actually want to listen to the history of it, and if you want to spend time in the gardens, you could spend all day out there. Palace does close at 6 o'clock, gardens at 7 o'clock as of today. So consider that whenever you're pre-booking your tickets in advance. Same recommendation from the Louvre, and consider what time slot you're going to get with how long that you think you're going to want to spend there. But it is definitely potentially an all-day thing, especially if you want to spend some time in the town, which I think we'd agree is beautiful. And inside the last couple things that I want to talk to you about, one of the most important is, I think that French people get a bad rap for not being very inviting and welcoming, but just a little bit of effort goes a long way. So if you're even able to just learn a few words of French, some of the basics, bonjour, parlez-vous anglais, right, at a very, very minimum, will help you go a long way. Because even if all you can do is say hello, and you can say thank you, merci, right, and then ask if they speak English, the attempt and the effort will be nice, and it's a nice thing for you to learn a little bit, so that when you're coming in here to a French culture, you can show a little bit of respect for that, and it will help you get the most out of it with having helpful folks around, being able to get your food, get your accommodation, and everything else that you need while you're here in Paris to make the most out of your experience. Finally, after that, guys, Paris is a whirlwind of a city. There's a million things that you can do. We've only barely touched the surface of it, so please, in the comments, if you have something that I have left out. I know there's big proponents for Moulin Rouge, right? There's very special bakeries, macaroon shops, and we'll obviously list some of our favorite food places like we always do in the description below. But Paris is such a wide open place. Enjoy spending some time walking around the town. Enjoy some of the open spaces. It's probably one of the very best places I've ever been to for just being able to be out in the open, parks that are openly available for everyone, whether they're small or large. It's absolutely beautiful. Take advantage of the great weather that France and Paris have most of the year long, where it doesn't really get too hot, so you can spend a lot of time outside. And other than that, really enjoy your French vacation. I hope that this helped you out. If it did at all, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe below if you want to see some more of what we have coming. Other than that, thanks for the watch partners. We'll see you in the next video.